A story of compassion and unexpected blessings, from struggle to abundance. Have you ever performed a simple act of kindness only to see it come back in ways you never imagined? That's exactly what happened to Rose Hart, a small-town diner owner who gave a meal to a man in need. Little did she know that this single moment of compassion would change her life forever. Stay with us for a heartwarming story of kindness, generosity, and the power of paying it forward. And if you believe in the power of uplifting stories, be sure to subscribe to Story Precious, where every story inspires change. The Struggling Diner. Nestled on the quiet corner of Maple Street, Rose's Corner was once a lively, bustling diner filled with happy customers and the comforting clatter of plates and silverware. It had been Rose's dream ever since she inherited it from her late mother, who had taught her the value of compassion and hard work. The walls were adorned with old family photos and snapshots of smiling customers who had once been regulars. But times had changed. A flashy chain restaurant opened just a few blocks away, drawing away many of her regular patrons. The town's population had also dwindled as families moved to bigger cities in search of better opportunities. Rose's once thriving diner was now struggling to survive. She tried every trick in the book: discounts, loyalty cards, live music nights, but nothing seemed to work. The weight of overdue bills, rent, and utility payments hung over her daily life. Rose did everything herself, from cooking and cleaning to managing finances, just to save on staffing costs. Her days were long, her nights sleepless, and her hands calloused from endless work. Still, she refused to give up. The diner was more than a business. It was her legacy, her safe haven, and a symbol of her family's resilience. An unlikely visitor. One evening, as Rose prepared to close for the night, she heard the familiar jingle of the front door bell. Her heart sank. It was already 7:45 p.m., and she had only served a handful of customers that day. She turned to see a man slowly walking inside. He was tall but hunched over, his clothes tattered and worn. His coat's edges were frayed, and his shoes were caked with mud. His face bore the marks of hardship: sunken cheeks, rough skin, and eyes that seemed to carry the weight of the world. Clutching the straps of a torn backpack, he hesitated near the entrance, as if unsure whether he was welcome. Rose's heart ached. She'd seen people down on their luck before, but something about this man's demeanor pulled at her. With a kind smile, she called out, "Come on in. Sit down." He shuffled to a booth by the window and sat down with a sigh of relief. I just need a glass of water," he muttered, his eyes fixed on the table in front of him. "How about a hot meal instead?" Rose asked warmly. "I'll bring you something fresh from the kitchen." He looked up, eyes wide with surprise. I can't pay you," he admitted. "Don't worry about it," Rose replied with a wave of her hand. "Everyone deserves a good meal, especially when they're having a rough time." The man's eyes welled up with emotion. His hands hovered over the table as if he wasn't sure if he should stay. But hunger eventually won, and he stayed seated. A meal of hope. Rose headed to the kitchen, determined to give him a meal that would fill not just his stomach, but his heart. She prepared one of her favorite dishes, a hearty chicken pot pie with fresh rolls and a bowl of warm vegetable soup. It was simple, but it had always been a customer favorite. She placed the meal on the table in front of him. "Eat as much as you want," she said with a smile. "Would you like some coffee or tea?" He nodded slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you." As he ate, Rose watched from behind the counter. His movements were slow at first, but with each bite, he seemed to regain a little more strength. The tension in his shoulders eased. The man who had entered like a shadow now sat with a sense of peace. He finished every last bite, leaned back in the booth, and let out a deep breath of contentment. An unforgettable gift. When he was ready to leave, he approached the counter, his shoulders more upright than before. "I don't have much to give you," he said, his voice hoarse but steady, "but I want you to have this." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small, smooth stone that shimmered faintly under the light. It wasn't like any ordinary rock. Its surface glowed with an iridescent sheen, as if it contained its own light. He placed it on the counter alongside a folded note. "This might help you one day," he said. Before Rose could respond, he turned and walked out into the night, the bell above the door jingling softly as he left. Curious, Rose unfolded the note. The handwriting was shaky but clear. It read, "You gave me hope when I had none. This little stone holds great value. Please accept it as a token of my gratitude. Never stop being the kind soul you are." Rose's eyes lingered on the stone. It was heavier than it looked, smooth but with faint veins of light running through it. Something about it felt special, almost magical. A miracle unfolds. The next morning, Rose took the stone to a local jeweler. To her shock, the jeweler's eyes widened as he examined it under his magnifying glass. "Rose, this isn't just a stone," he said in awe. "This is a star sapphire, one of the rarest gemstones in the world, and it's nearly flawless." Rose's heart raced. The stone was worth a small fortune, enough to pay off her debts, renovate her diner, and secure her future. With the money from the sale, Rose transformed her diner into a vibrant community hub. She started the Meal of Hope program, offering free meals every week to those in need. She also set up a community fund to help struggling families with groceries, rent, and essential needs. Application of the lesson in real life. The story of Rose's heart teaches us that kindness is never wasted. One simple meal transformed not only the life of a struggling man, but also Rose's life in a way she could never have predicted. This lesson can be applied in our own lives as well. Sometimes, it may seem like our acts of kindness are small or insignificant, but as this story shows, even the smallest gestures can make a monumental impact. You never know how your kindness may come back to you. In daily life, this could mean offering help to someone in need, showing compassion to strangers, or simply being generous with our time and attention. It could be as simple as listening to someone who is having a rough day or sharing food with someone who is hungry. In a world where people often feel isolated, your small act of kindness might be the spark that reignites hope. If you were in Rose's position, would you have done the same? Would you offer a free meal to a stranger even if you were struggling to make ends meet? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to Story Precious and hit the notification bell so you never miss an inspiring story. Your support allows us to continue bringing you meaningful stories that inspire kindness, compassion, and change. Together, we can create a world where small acts of goodness ripple outwards, touching the lives of countless others.